Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. Welcome to today's upload. Before we jump on into it, a couple quick links. As many of you may know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. The merch is displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. These audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click the like button. Takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads that I put out daily, click that bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment and share the video. Why? Well, because these things, they really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. They definitely do matter, and I do appreciate them. And with that, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to today's upload, shall we? All right, so today's upload is going to be an experience that has captivated many cryptid researchers. Also, it is one of those experiences that, in my eyes, is right up there with Siege at Lockett Ranch. Dark Waters had shared that amazing and horrific experience. Now, there is an experience that is the Bigfoot Choctaw Wars. And back in 1855, there was a historic war between a violent group of Bigfoot and Choctaw warriors. Interestingly enough, some of those Choctaw warriors were almost 7 feet in height. And this information is really not talked about a lot, but it does captivate a lot of people. People have looked for documented evidence of this case. And I'm going to share the historic War of 1855, Choctaw, Bigfoot, or the LaFleur Wars. Let's get into it. The event that I'm going to share right now is a blend of Native American history, frontier violence, and cryptozoological mystery. It encapsulates the very essence of the cryptid phenomena. It is the Bigfoot War of 1855, or the LaFleur Wars. And to fully appreciate the significance of this war, we must first understand the Choctaw's tradition and rich history. The Choctaw, a Native American tribe, originally inhabited the southeastern United States. They were renowned for their prowess as warriors and hunters. Their skills on the battlefield were honed through centuries of intertribal conflicts and later through their participation in colonial-era wars and the American Revolutionary War. The Choctaw were known for their sophisticated military organization, with a well-defined system of ranks and strong emphasis on discipline and strategy. Very different than what the tribes up here in New York were. The Mohawk. They were more of a guerrilla tactic. The Choctaw were true warriors, almost like what it is weird because if you really think about how they had their system set, it is very sophisticated, like the Europeans. A little different, but still much more significant or much more sophisticated than what a lot of other Native American tribes, because mainly a lot of them used guerrilla tactics, guerrilla warfare tactics. Like in the woods, you'd have like the English, the French in a battlefield waiting to line up, and the Mohawks, the Iroquois, the Algonquin would be in the woods throwing, whatever to lure the soldiers into the woods and then just brutally attack them from behind or come out of nowhere. So it is a very different look and a very different way of doing battle. The Choctaw were true warriors that not only did they do it in a way where they were looked upon as a worthy adversary, but they were looked at and studied. Their tactics were studied and brought into other kind of strategies. They're very, very disciplined. The warriors were trained from a young age in the arts of tracking, stealth, and hand-to-hand combat, making them formidable adversaries in the dense forests, swamps of their homeland. This tradition was deeply ingrained in the Choctaw culture, with bravery and military success being highly valued and celebrated. However, the Choctaws' way of life was forever altered in the 1830s when the United States government, under the Indian Removal Act, forcibly relocated the tribe from their ancestral lands to present-day Oklahoma. This traumatic event, known as the Trail of Tears, saw thousands of Choctaw men, women, and children make that journey westward, facing disease, starvation, exposure along the way. It's estimated that nearly a quarter of the Choctaw population perished during this forced migration. For the Choctaw who survived the Trail of Tears, the challenges were adapted to life in a new and unfamiliar land were immense. Stripped of their traditional hunting grounds and resources, the tribe struggled to maintain their cultural identity and traditions in the face of an overwhelming adversary. Yet despite these hardships, the Choctaw persevered, drawing upon their ancient warrior spirit to forge a new existence in the Oklahoma Territory. It was against this backdrop of upheaval and resilience that the legend of the Bigfoot War would emerge, a tale that in many ways reflects the Choctaw ongoing struggle to assert their identity and protect their people in a rapidly changing world. The LaFleur County, Oklahoma, 1855. This experience or event of the Bigfoot War is linked to a specific time and place in which it is said to have occurred. Choctaw Territory of LaFleur County, Oklahoma. The year was 1855. To understand the context of this encounter or event, it is important to examine the state of the Choctaw Nation and the bordered region during this period. By the mid-19th century, the Choctaw had been living in their new Oklahoma homeland for over 2 decades. Despite the initial hardships of relocation, the tribe had managed to establish a degree of stability and self-governance in this new territory. The Choctaw Nation had its own constitution, elected officials, and system of laws and courts, very similar to Europeans. And what is interesting to me is that even though they had these really sophisticated ways and traditions, and that matched ours, they were still looked down upon. It's very strange, and it's very sad if you really think about it. It's history. Unfortunately, we can't change it. The Choctaw Nation, however, the specter of the American expansion and the increasing pressure to assimilate into a white society loomed largely over this tribe. Leflore County, named after a prominent Choctaw family of the same name, was a microcosm of challenges and opportunities faced by the tribe during the era. The Leflores, who were a mix of Choctaw and French descent, had played a significant role in the tribe's political and economic affairs. Their influence and leadership helped to bridge the gap between the Choctaw and encroaching American settlers, but also highlighted the complex and often fraught nature of these cross-cultural interactions. It was in this context of change and uncertainty that the mysterious raids on the Choctaw settlements and local farms began to occur. According to legend, unknown assailants were stealing livestock, crops, and other resources from the tribe and the neighboring whites, sowing fear and unrest throughout the region. Even more disturbing were the reports of women and children being kidnapped from their homes, vanishing into the wilderness without a trace. These attacks, which seemed to defy explanation, stuck to the very heart of the Choctaw sense of security. For the people who had already endured so much trauma and displacement, the idea of an unseen enemy preying upon their community was deeply unsettling. As the raids continued and the toll of the missing and stolen mounted, the Choctaw knew that they had to take action to protect their people and their way of life. Faced with a growing threat of these mysterious raids, the Choctaw leadership knew that they needed to mount a swift and decisive response. Drawing upon their ancient warrior traditions, they assembled an elite group of fighters known as the Light Horsemen to track down and confront the raiders. The Light Horsemen were the Choctaw Nation's premier military force, almost like our special forces. A band of skilled warriors and trackers who were tasked in maintaining law and order within the tribe's territory. These men were chosen for their bravery, strength, and expertise in the ways of the wilderness and were held in high esteem by the fellow Choctaw. Leading the Light Horsemen in their mission was Joshua Leflore, a respected figure within the tribe known for his wisdom, courage, and diplomatic skills. Leflore was a mix of Choctaw and French ancestry, embodied the complex and often conflicting identities of the Choctaw people in the face of the American expansion. His leadership of the Light Horsemen was a testament to his commitment to protecting his people and preserving their way of life. Alongside Leflore were the legendary Tubi warriors. These men were a family of men, giant men, known for their incredible size, strength, and fighting prowess. Standing nearly 7 feet in height and some weighing over 300 pounds, these men were giants. The Tubi clan were an imposing presence on the battlefield and were feared and respected in equal measure by their enemies. Together, this formidable group of warriors set out from the Choctaw capital, determined to put an end to the raids and bring the perpetrators to justice. Armed with their traditional weapons and an unshakable resolve, they rode out into the wilderness of the McCurtain County wilderness, following the trail of this elusive enemy. As they ventured deeper into the forest, the Light Horsemen encountered signs of the raiders. Abandoned campsites, broken trees and branches, the occasional footprints, scraps of cloth. However, the true nature of their foe remained a mystery, hidden somewhere in the dense undergrowth of this rugged terrain. Little did the Choctaw warriors know that they were about to face an adversary unlike any they had ever encountered before. One that would test their courage, their skills, and their very understanding of everything they knew and believed in the world around them at the time. As these light horsemen rode deeper into the wilderness, the signs of their quarry's presence grew only more ominous. The once vibrant forest seemed to grow quieter with each passing mile, as if even the birds and beasts were aware of some unseen danger or predators lurking in the shadows. Then, without warning, the warriors were assaulted by a stench so overpowering that it nearly knocked them from their horses. The unmistakable odor of death and decay. Pressing onward, the Choctaw soon found themselves in a small clearing, where the source of that horrific odor was immediately apparent. Strewn about the forest floor were partially devoured remains of dozens of women and children, their bodies twisted, broken, in a grotesque taboo of violence and savagery. Among the grisly scene, 3 enormous, hair-covered creatures were crouched over the corpses, their muzzles stained with blood and viscera. The sight of these monstrous creatures, which seemed to combine the worst aspects of man and beast, sent a wave of shock and revulsion through the Light Horsemen. For a moment, even the bravest among them hesitated, struggling to comprehend the sheer wrongness of the creatures standing before them. But as that initial shock wore off, it was replaced by a burning rage, a primal urge to avenge the innocent and purge the land of these abominations. Something that I want to comment on is that it's interesting how they say muzzle. It almost makes you wonder if indeed it was Bigfoot or if it was a different creature entirely. A creature known on this channel as the werewolf, a large predatory creature, non-hocked legs, human-like legs, no tail, a smaller muzzle, very similar to the Beast of Seven Shoots. So it almost makes you wonder, if that is the case at all. Not only were these creatures savage, but they were true abominations. And, like in Danny Van Drimany's book, Them and Us, it really does talk about how the creatures that existed during our coming of age had muzzles, were very strong. Just something that popped into my head right there. Sorry. With a fierce cry, Joshua LaFleur spurred his horse forward, drawing his pistol and saber. As he charged the nearest creature, the beast, caught off guard by the sudden attack, barely had time to react before LaFleur was upon it, his blade flashing in the dabbled sun. But even the Choctaw leader rained blows upon the monster. It seemed to shrug off the wounds with a terrifying ease, its hide as tough as oak bark. Suddenly, a second creature lunged from the shadows, its massive hands swatting LaFleur's horse to the ground with a sickening crunch, killing it instantly. The warrior tumbled to the forest floor, dazed but unbroken, immediately rolled to his feet to face the attacker. With a roar of defiance, LaFleur emptied his pistol into the beast's chest, the rounds tearing through the flesh and bone, but still, the creature kept coming, its eyes blazing with a feral hunger. As LaFleur and the creature grappled in a desperate hand-to-hand struggle, the rest of the Light Horsemen finally sprung into action. The 2B warriors, these 7-foot monstrous human beings, armed with their massive 50 caliber Sharps buffalo rifles, took aim at the remaining beasts. Their shots echoed through the forest like thunder. One by one, these creatures fell and their bodies riddled with gaping wounds. But the victory was short-lived. To the Choctaw's horror, the creature battling LaFleur suddenly lunged forward. Its powerful jaws clamped down on the warrior's head and twisted violently. With a thickening crack, LaFleur's lifeless body crumbled to the ground. His head was torn clean from his shoulders. That's another thing that makes me wonder if indeed they were Bigfoot. Because we know that Bigfoot is very similar to us, or depicted to us. Maybe ape-like, but now we're talking about its jaws crunching on someone's head. Seems to me like it might have been something different. Just, you know what I'm saying? I know you know what I'm saying. Enraged by the loss of their friend and leader, the 2B clan redoubled their efforts, pouring a relentless barrage of fire into the remaining creature. Finally, the beast staggered and fell. Its massive bulk crashed to the floor, and in a cloud of leaves and blood, as the echoes of this battle faded, the Light Horsemen stood in stunned silence, their minds reeling with the sheer horror of what they had just witnessed and ensued. Like, these creatures, whatever they were like nothing they had ever seen or encountered before. A nightmarish blend of animal savagery and human cunning. And yet, even in death, these creatures seemed to exude an aura of malevolence, as if the very presence was a violation of the natural order. So, almost demonic. Gathering their fallen leader's remains, the Choctaw set about a grim task of burying the dead and burning the creatures' bodies in a massive pyre. As the flames consumed these creatures' flesh, the warriors could not shake the feeling that they had just brushed against something ancient and unknowable, a darkness that had always lurked at the edges of the world, waiting for its chances just like this to strike. In the days and weeks that followed this battle, the Choctaw Nation was plunged into a state of mourning and unease. The loss of Joshua LaFleur, one of the most respected and beloved leaders, it was a blow struck in the very heart of everyone in the tribe. The Light Horsemen as well were deeply affected by the trauma of the encounter. Many of the warriors, particularly the 2B clan, reported vivid and terrifying nightmares of these creatures they had just faced. As the news of the incident spread throughout the region, the Choctaw found themselves grappling with a new and unsettling reality. The creatures they had encountered, which seemed to defy all known laws of nature, had shaken their understanding of the world and their place within it. Some spoke of ancient legends and dark omens, while others whispered the curses and malevolent spirits, but all agreed that the war, the Bigfoot War, or the LaFleur War of 1855, as it came to be known, marked a turning point in the tribe's history. A moment where the veil between the natural and the supernatural had been torn. In the years that followed, the Choctaw would continue to face challenges and hardships, from the encroachment of the American settlers to the ravages of disease and poverty, but through it all, the memory of this war endured, the testament to the tribe's resilience and the enduring power of their warrior spirit. For the Tubi clan and the other survivors of the battle, the scars of that fateful day would never really heal. A constant reminder of the darkness that lurked just beyond the edges of that firelight. So, really quick, I want to share something that if we really want to think about this, I had mentioned Danny Van Drimeny, and everything that we know about this LaFleur War, I'm not going to call it the Bigfoot War, actually, because the way they describe it, it sounds too much like a Dogman or the creature that we know on this channel as the werewolf. Not a shapeshifter, but what we know as the werewolf. Once again, human legs, not hocked like a Dogman, no tail, much larger, very, very Bigfootish in stature. A muzzle, a very small muzzle, not like a wolf or a German shepherd's. Almost like a Rottweiler, just sticking out a little bit, But how Danny Van Drimeny, in all of the information described right here, it resonates with this right here. Every human culture has known and believed in the existence of other beings. Monstrous humanoids, sapient but inhuman. They've gone by different names: boogeyman, bugbear, cyclops, giant, ogre, onye, troll, yeti, Bigfoot, dogman, and much more. But they are always feared lurkers in the shadows, threats to the clan, tribe, or hearth. Dungeons and Dragons did not create these monsters, and despite ongoing controversies, they don't represent anything modern. Humanity's legendary heroes, like Joshua LaFleur, have been fighting these monsters since time immemorial. Legends are real. These creatures are real. Van Drimeny describes the Neanderthal like this. He makes the statement of Neanderthal didn't look like Fred Flintstone. No, it was much different. It was a much different, much ferocious creature. The only reason why we depict Neanderthal to look like Fred Flintstone and shit like that was because we want to make it more human. We want to make it less ferocious, less more appealing to our eye. But how Van Drimeny describes these creatures is very much like what these men at the Choctaw faced. Neanderthals were apex predators. Analysis of isotope of the bone college had shown the Neanderthals' diet was 97% meat, estimated to eat 4.1 pounds of meat daily. Ample evidence exists that they were also hunters of huge animals: woolly mammoth, giant cave bear, woolly rhino, bison, wolves, and even the cave lions, the most dangerous and lethal. Neanderthals were cannibals. A number of Neanderthal sites reveal bones that have been smashed open to extract marrow. While the hypothesis was initially rejected, a recent find in El Sidrón in Spain revealed numerous Neanderthal skeletons with the unmistakable marks of butchery by cannibals. Neanderthals had more robust bone, heavy musculature than Homo sapiens. They weighed 25% more than us. They were so heavily muscled that their skeletons had to develop extra thick bones. One of the most characteristic features of Neanderthal is its exaggerated massiveness of the trunk and the limb bone. All preserved bones suggest a strength seldom obtained by modern human. Quoting a paleoanthropologist, Eric Trinkus, a healthy Neanderthal could lift an average NFL linebacker over his head and throw him through the goalpost. They evolved extremely thick skulls, postcranial hyperrobustity that protected them in close quarter confrontation with prey. They also had kyphosis, a hunched back that gave them a distinct profile and gait. Neanderthals' teeth were twice as large and twice as sharp as humans, according to 2008 anthropologist research. Their mouths could open much wider than a human's, enabling them to take extremely large bites. Judging by the size of their jaw, they had a tremendous bite force. Large enough to rip a man's head from its body? Imagine. These creatures also evolved in the Ice Age so that they needed to adapt. Shorter limbs, larger nose, more compact torsos. This also points out that every primate except humans or Homo sapiens were covered in hair. Every cold-adapted mammal during these ice ages had thick fur, including mammals that are now hairless in Africa, such as the elephant and the rhino. There's no evidence to believe that Neanderthals were not or were hairless, except for the desire for them to look like us. Even without hair, they did not have needlework yet. They were not sewing clothes, and nor did they wear a loincloth. Sorry about that. Nor did they wear a loincloth in ice-covered tundras, you know? Neanderthals' skulls were extremely large eye sockets. Neanderthals were nocturnal. Large eyes posed a problem. They had vertically aligned slit pupils, which enabled them to use the full diameter of the lens in low light while shutting out bright light during the day. Nocturnal primates, such as the rhesus monkey and owl monkey, all have large eyes with vertically aligned slit pupils. Van Dermody suggests that these creatures also had the tapetum lucidum, like a cat, making their eyes shine in the dark, and had a dark sclerilla like other primates. They also had facial prognathism that featured large, broad noses. Van Dermody argues that this suggests a Neanderthal snout with a dog-like nose designed for scent hunting, useful during nocturnal raids. This is in the book, shit. What does this sound like? This exactly sounds like what these men faced in 1855. They didn't speak human language. Instead, they had a large nasal cavity and large face, short neck. There was a lot of guttural sounds with a deep timbre. So now, this is exactly how he describes them. Van Dermody describes this, a terrifying creature, a hunched cannibalistic predator with large, shining eyes, an animalistic snout covered in fur, massive shoulders built for close combat, hunting at night, with a brutish and guttural voice, and a large mouth with sharp, jagged teeth and powerful jaws. That, my friend, is a creature known as Dogman, Bigfoot, Bugbear, Ane, Ogre. These myths and legends are real. Now, with that being said, there's also another incident that may or may not be directly related to the Lafleur War of 1855. And according to a Bigfoot researcher named Jim King, he believes that the LaFleur experience or event is based on an event that took place much further west in Kiowa territory. An event relayed to him by a Native American elder. According to this event, Kiowa women were placed in a special teepee or a tent at the edge of the camp when they had started their menstrual cycle. The women that were staying there were being tended by the older women until their cycle was complete. The elders told King that the women were considered unclean during their cycles, and Kiowa warriors were forbidden not only to have physical contact during this time, but they were unable to even look upon them. This seems harsh, but not too different in the way of many cultures treated menstruating women in the past. The elder said that once long ago there had been trouble with large creatures, large in stature, hairy creatures, who were attracted to the scent and pheromones emanating from the tent and teepees where the menstruating women were. Since the tent was on the edge of the encampment, it proved an easy target for these renegade creatures, who were said to have entered and carried off the women several occasions. To make this story a little shorter, the Kiowa leadership decided this was unacceptable, and they put together a group of warriors to hunt down the kidnappers. These warriors managed to track these creatures to their lair and killed not only them, but their entire pod. So that, my friends, right there is the LaFleur Wars of 1855, the Bigfoot Wars, or the something else wars. I mean, to me, it doesn't sound like a Bigfoot. It sounds like something that, once again, we know on this channel as a werewolf. A creature that does not transform, a non-shape-shifting werewolf. The Kiowa incident is rather interesting, though. That could be Bigfoot. That could be. And, I find it rather interesting that a subscriber of this channel, who has been with this channel since the very beginning, I call her the godmother of this channel, had an event happen when she was just married. Her and her husband had gone out on a adventure, tow-behind trailer, and they had their 2 Doberman pinschers with her. And they found this little kind of pull-off out in Montana, pulled off and set up camp, just pulled the truck way away from the road, left the trailer, sat to the truck, and camped out, had a little campfire, had a great night, put the fire out. They put the fire out. She's sure of it, 100%. A couple hours after they had gone to bed, they are awakened by the dogs whining and acting very, very strange and afraid. And they were Jane's protector. Those dogs loved Jane. Loved her, without a doubt. And they peer out the window of the camper, and lo and behold, they see this large figure, huge figure, standing by the fire. The fire that was out is now lit again. Maybe they didn't put it out all the way, and maybe this creature stoked it. The dogs were so afraid that they had urinated on themselves. Next morning, they get up, clean the area, and they didn't see any footprints. But I don't know if at that time they may not have even gone over by that area. But the creature was huge, and they go to a kind of gas station, country store. Jane's in the back of the store doing whatever, and she comes up to the conversation that her husband and this old feller is having about what had just occurred. And he states something like, "Rough night last night, I heard." And Jane's like, "Yes, it was. Yes, it was, sir." And to know Jane and talk to Jane, I can just picture her voice and picture her demeanor. Because the old feller says, "Was it your time of the month, ma'am?" And Jane's like, "What? What the hell does that have anything to do with it? And how the hell do you know that?" And looked at her husband like, "What do you say to strangers, douche nozzle?" And he said, "Ma'am, no offense, and I mean nothing by it." He said, "But these creatures are attracted to the pheromones and the scents of a woman when it's her time of the month." That to me just really puts a solid stamp of real on that Kiowa story. The LaFleur story, I don't know about that being a Bigfoot though. I don't know. Maybe it was a Dogman. Maybe they just didn't mention the tails, you know? They were talking about a creature that defied anything of logic to them. Imagine seeing a bipedal freaking wolf of immense size, or another creature that we know here as a werewolf. I mean, it bit his head. It put its jaws around his head and snapped his neck. To me, it doesn't sound like a Bigfoot. It sounds like something much more terrifying. Anyway, guys, that is today's upload. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd like to thank you all for supporting this channel. It is, after all, your support that helps this channel to continue to grow and go, and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is simply treated with the respect that we deserve. Please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and our friends. These creatures are real. These events have happened. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions. Never stop searching for the truth. And God bless you all.